Welcome to the Startup Grind.
With something you didn't know, or you're going to go check something out, or you're going to feel inspired or even angry at me, I've done my job right. But if you leave here bored, I've done my job wrong. So this is meant to be a discussion. And before you go on, this is a small group, I want to try something. Okay. The word entrepreneur gets thrown out a lot. Everybody's an entrepreneur. What does that mean? English is my second language. So everything I do, I have to learn. So what's an entrepreneur? Anyone. Just give me a definition of an entrepreneur.
Sees an opportunity and builds a solution for it.
Good. I like that. What else?
Risk taker.
Excellent. What else?
Glutton for punishment.
Devil.
Innovator.
Innovator. Okay, like it.
Who takes responsibility for both success and failures.
Okay. All right. What else? Resourceful. Did someone say resourceful? Okay, resourceful. All right.
A little insane.
Now you're getting close to what I wanted to get to. Right. Insane. Okay, what else? Okay, you're all right. Yeah.
Same as doing PhD.
Yes, if you have like 7 years on your hand to, go through punishment.
I think there are a lot of parallels, yes.
So, when I was asked that question a while ago, I try to capture all of that in one simple statement. Someone who thinks the impossible. Someone who doesn't understand the word no. Today, it's very chic, it's very sexy to be called an entrepreneur. It's much the same way of, those who don't know what to do, they go like, I'm pre-med. Everybody's pre-med. And they realize it's actually very difficult to get to medical school. But it's really cool in that first year or two to say, what are you doing? I'm pre-med. It helps you with dating, it helps you with your parents, pre-med. And today, everybody's an entrepreneur. It's actually one of the first crowds that I've heard use the words insane, use ready for punishment. It's absolutely that. Entrepreneurship is about, to me, disruption. Thinking of a way to make something that is quite comfortable done a different way. So if you're sitting around going, I'm an entrepreneur, ask yourself, am I disrupting something? Am I going to disrupt something? If the answer is yes, by my definition, you're an entrepreneur. If the answer is no, you're just in business. And that is okay. That's absolutely okay. Not all business people are entrepreneurs, and not all entrepreneurs are business people. Not every idea was meant to be a company. Doesn't mean it's bad. And I think it was Deanna, who said in the beginning, people before profit. All right. Let's take another half step back. Everybody wants to have a company. If you don't have a purpose for your company, you're pre-med. I just want to have a company. To do what? A company is a way to get to something. If you don't know where you're going, what's the point? You could be a one-person show, you could be a 100% show. When I started Zymeworks, there was 2 of us, and now there's over 160 of us in actually 2 countries. What does that mean? Who cares? If you're 160, 1,000, 500, or 6. These terms are meant to confuse people. Stay focused on what you're passionate about, on what you're trying to disrupt. You could go to all these conferences and you can stand up and clap and cheer, but if you don't have a purpose, you're wasting time. You're wasting time. Take a step back. Sit in these places. Get a notebook. What interests you? What makes you get up out of bed every day? Because if you don't have that answer, if you're not seeking that answer, you can go to all the conferences you want till, the cows come home, and you're still not going to get any closer because you don't know you. That is the critical component of being insane. Somebody's got to go, I'm going to do something very different. Here's a question. How many of you have taken a lot of physics? Okay, how many? One quick question. How long has NASA been around? Somebody. 50 years? 60, 70 years? And would you say, Raf, that a lot of smart people have gone through NASA, like really, really smart people?
For sure.
What the hell were they all doing before Musk came out and said a rocket that could go up can come down?
Sitting in their office drinking coffee and being smart.
But seriously, you have to take a step back. All these people were self-editing. It can't be done. I'm too worried about what's beyond Pluto. This, that, and the other. And someone has like, you know what? Why don't we try? What goes up, lands back down. Nobody else in NASA thought about that. With all the rockets that went up and the space shuttle and all that kind of crap, nobody else could figure that out. With all the astrophysicists and whatever the hell you want to give in their titles, nobody could figure that one out. And here comes him, essentially, if you know Elon Musk, he has nothing to do with any of these things he does. He's a fintech guy. He had nothing to do with Tesla's battery and cars and all this stuff. As you said, there was a different founder.
Yeah.
And here he is. He's like, everybody says it's impossible for a rocket to go up to come back down. How about we figure that out? When I was a kid, this stuff was only in movies. My first Walkman, and you guys might be way too young to remember that, was basically that size. This is what we carried around to listen to music. It was like this, and you had a headphone that was gigantic, and you had to press buttons on this thing. And then after that, if you recall, it became to the Discman. And then you would walk around. This was the cool thing. Can I get that, please?
Oh, sure.
This is how it was in every university. You wouldn't walk through a university without someone's hand being like this, with a headphone on, and just everybody had to listen to music between class, as if their life would end if music was not on between classes. Everybody had a Discman in their hand. Somebody said, you know what? We could all put it into one of these. So, a whole bunch of techies here. What came before these? What was the original disruptor? RIM. It was BlackBerry. It was the little pager guy, folks, that said, you know what? All the stuff, radio waves that could, are floating, we could actually send ones and zeros up there, and instead of getting a page that's with beep, 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 someone's calling you, we could send information. It wasn't Apple. Guarantee it wasn't Apple or Samsung. It was someone else. So your job as entrepreneurs is to think like them. Don't self-edit. That's the biggest thing nobody talks about. Everybody, tells you all this fancy stuff. But if I could tell you 14 years of what I learned is, I don't understand the word no, and I don't understand the word impossible. Give me time, and I'll figure it out. We were one of the first companies to go out in Vancouver in a long time to go public on the New York Stock Exchange. If you don't know that, that's the big kid stock exchange. That's the ones you see on the movies. And all the time, I'd watch all these people stand on the balcony and ring the bell while everybody else is there. If you even watch like Shark Tank, or if you watch Dragon's Den, you would see, what's his name, stand up there and ring the bell. Well, guess what? I got to stand up there and ring the bell too. That means, not that I'm cool, that means if I could do it, you can. But you can't self-edit. And if you self-edit, you get into trouble.
So would you say people are born as entrepreneurs, or do they develop that? Can they develop that?
How many people in grad school here?
Passion?
Went to grad school. Okay, here's an absolute fact for you. You didn't go into grad school stupid and come out on the other side smart. That's a fact. And entrepreneurs, the insane people, are born. But through what you're doing, what Grind is doing, through these talks, all you do is you polish it. You give them confidence, you give them an ability to believe, you get rid of the crap. Once someone said a diamond is hidden inside of a coal waiting to come out, that's who you are. And our job is to chip away at it and expose you and give you that ability to shine. But there's no way entrepreneurship can be taught. Entrepreneurship can be polished. Look at my physique. You could train me for the rest of my life and I will never be a heavyweight Olympic weightlifter. This is who I am. You could get the best coaches on the face of the world and I will never be a pianist that holds a concert. You're sitting here at like 7:30 p.m., you're insane. Good. You're at the right place. Now you gotta believe, whatever idea you're working on. The other problem that we have in Canada, and I talk about this quite often, is that we're quite comfortable being number 2 or number 3. We have the CFL to the NFL. We literally tell the world, come here, we make you better so you can go play in the NFL. This is what we say to them. And we have 8 teams who fight each other and battle each other like 200 times, and 6 of them make to a playoffs. How bad are the other 2? And we're like, come, and we love you, CFL. Screw that. Why do we always have to be number 2? Why are we always a QHL, the AHL to the NHL? We invented hockey. There's a mentality here that being number 2 or number 3, it's okay. Get a ribbon. Good job. You're told as entrepreneurs, as you develop business plans, tell me how you're going to be number 1. And as soon as someone likes your business plan, the next thing they say in Canada, so how are we going to sell to the real number 1? Okay, thank you. That is the stupidest thing I always hear. What's the exit strategy? No exit strategy. How many people have kids here? Okay, do you have an exit strategy for your kids? You don't. Your companies, your dreams are your kids. You don't go, sweetie, our plan is that, by age 7, she is going to be doing that. By 10, they're there. By 16, she is dating. 18, married. 19, out. We're rocking. You don't do that. You try to raise good kids, responsible citizens, and when they leave, they leave. But you don't go, get out. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard anybody ask me, what's your exit plan? I'm like, success. Success will show me my ways out. It will reveal exits. But I'm not building to sell. I'm not building to be glorified. I'm building to deal with my passion. And my passion is to send people back home disease-free. I'm addicted to that smile after a doctor says, hey, your cancer, your disease, your whatever, it's not there anymore. I love sending fathers back home. I love sending mothers back home. I love sending sisters, daughters, brothers back home. Because it's a scary thing when you go to the hospital. You feel sick and you don't know what's going to happen. And all those people with the white coats come out. I'm really sorry. And they always do this. 5 minutes later, they're in their cars having a good time, but they're trying to be really, I'm really sorry. What gets me up every morning is, I like it when they go, hey, good news. I don't have an exit plan. I'm here for success. Success for me is measured by sending people back home. I do that, all the money stuff takes care of itself.
So when you originally, or you did your undergrad in the US, so what was the reason for you to come to Vancouver, and did you already have
I didn't want to come.
I
didn't want to come. It wasn't my call. It was my master supervisor who decided on his own to make some calls, and then I was still in the medical school dream, and he walked up and he said, "I've contacted someone at UBC. He's willing to accept you. You're doing a PhD." End of story. Like, end of story. I'm going to Vancouver. Who goes to Vancouver? And the first week I was here, I was scared. The second week, I was in love. Never looked back.
What made you fall in love?
Hard to say that. You know when you're home. You don't need someone that says, "Welcome home." You know when you're home. I feel at home here. This is my city. I love everything about it. I've traveled all around the world. The minute the plane takes off, I'm sad. The minute the plane lands, I'm happy. This is my home.
Have you ever had kind of a great offer to move away from Vancouver and start Zymeworks
All the time.
And I mean, the law probably is what made it stay, but do you have any other, were there any other business opportunities that made you stay in Vancouver?
No, this is home. I don't want to go anywhere else. I've been very lucky in the course of building this company where a lot of people try to wine and dine you to try to move your company to somewhere else. When 2 Super Bowls ago, where Super Bowl was in Arizona, I got a package in the mail where I thought honestly this was some sort of a fraud, but I got to go to Super Bowl on behalf of the state of Arizona, and I was down at the front line with the biggest treatment you could ever imagine, and all they wanted was for me to think about moving Zymeworks to Arizona. Well, here we are. Thank you for taking me. I'm not moving. Now, if you want to treat me, I'll come, but I'm not moving.
What do you think, so we talked about being number 2 is acceptable here. What do you think has to change as well to make Vancouver or BC or Canada a better place for entrepreneurs and startups?
These folks, you make that change. Government won't do it. I won't do it. You're going to have to be resilient. You're going to have to be that kind of a person where when someone says move, you go, "No, I'm staying." You can't give in when someone says, "Oh, come on, just come my way." If this is home for you, this is home for you. You can make home anywhere. But if you want to go, then go. Just be sure where you want to be. Follow your passion. There's no wrong answer. Being confused is the wrong answer. Being unsure is the wrong answer. Yes, being an entrepreneur is being insane, but you also have to know you. You need to know where you're going, why you want to do what you're doing. That's the difference between those who don't cross the chasm and those who die in the chasm. Because what I may have done, and time will tell, is I may have left the chasm. But a lot of people have started on one side, go down, and die. And never come out.
So how did you get started? Like from the idea, how did you get your first, how were you able to convince your first investors or convince people to be on board with what you're planning to do? And what was your initial idea?
So, the one thing that remains, no matter whether you're in biotech or tech, in all businesses, people invest in people. And technology and ideas separate. Whatever your idea is, opens the door. But they will ultimately invest in you. They will invest in you if they trust you. They will invest in you if they know that you're a scrapper, that you will not quit, that when things get tough, you fight. You could have the greatest idea, and you may get one round of investment, but I guarantee you at that moment, all the investors are going, how quickly do we get rid of him or her in the first fund? People invest in people. relationships, as you said, based on Grind, is people to people, right? For me, how we got started, how the company got off the ground, was because the world of drug design, the world of research, is where you are today. Back then, drug development and drug research was very old school. Every other industry was moving towards high tech. Every other industry was benefiting from high tech. But drug development was still very, very old school, very shotgun approach, very much trial and error. So what the basis of my idea was, why don't we marry tech with biology? We use the word biotech, but we don't actually practice it. And if you kind of cut it in half, you can bring the world of molecular modeling, much the same way that CAD softwares have revolutionized how little equipment all the way to big buildings are built. Planes, automobiles, buildings, ships are no longer built the way they were built 100 years ago, where just people got together and just put it together. Now they're built in a computational environment, tested in a computational environment, which reduces the cost, eliminates false positives and negatives, and ultimately you take a universe that big, narrow to that much, and you go forward. Drug development did not benefit from that. And we started on the basis of that we can change that. We can actually start to model what happens in a human body, what happens between proteins, between antigens, between targets. And based on that knowledge, we can make better decisions as opposed to guess. And we got off the ground by wanting to build a set of software that, much like how you model a building in a computational environment, you model the behavior of a protein. Believe it or not, this was only done by academics. And academics want to publish papers. Academics want to keep asking tougher questions. They don't want to solve real world problems. The difference between Musk and NASA. NASA wants to know where the edge of the universe is and if it's expanding, black holes, this, that. Musk comes around and Branson comes around and is like, yeah, you guys do that. We're going to go up and down, up and down. You guys figure out the edge of the universe, whatever. And this is where we were. We figured that you could use Monte Carlo software, molecular dynamics software, to start to understand the behavior of a protein with a solvent. Very simple concept. Before us, mostly academics were looking at the dynamic behavior of a protein, and they were doing it in vacuum. Now, if you're a scientist, you know that no protein on the face of the earth exists in vacuum. They're always in a solvent. So they were modeling it as if it was in air, which makes it inaccurate. We brought that level of accuracy, started to understand the power of a protein, and then from there we said, how can we change it? So what we have in the clinic for breast cancer and gastric cancer right now is an antibody, something that all of you have right now as you're sitting there and is protecting you as part of your immune system, but it fails to recognize cancer. It just looks at cancer cells and goes, nah, I'm not touching that. Our antibody does. And says, nope, you're a good one, you're a bad one, I'm going after you and I'm going to get rid of you. And this is not a concept that is completely novel to us, we just do it better.
Yeah, so have you heard about the, I guess a lot of people of you have heard about the digital supercluster that it's now funded by the government with $950 million. And Zymeworks is part of that alliance too. And do you want to maybe talk a little bit about the opportunities that are there for people here to develop, to innovate, develop new technologies, and what role Zymeworks plays?
Big data. One of the things we love about our country, or at least the Americans tend to always remind us of, is that free healthcare. Have you ever thought about every time you've gone to a doctor, what happens to that information? Here, that information is stored, is kept. And when you come back again, they collect more information on you. And think about the last 60 years, the 70 years, all the people in British Columbia. There's that much data available on all of us. They just don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to parse it. They don't know how to mine it. They don't know how to utilize it for the betterment of all of us. And part of what the digital supercluster is meant to do is meant to not only deal with existing big data, but look at where else there is big data. And utilize that big data to create more jobs, but also put us on the map in terms of innovation on that. Everything we do today has some sort of a sensor associated with it. There's a lot of data floating. So this concept is meant to get a lot of companies to get together and look at the big data that exists, other areas where you can generate big data, and say, how do we utilize that towards the betterment of not only Canadians, but also globally? And as much as you think big data is yesterday's news in the rest of the world, it's not. It's still something that is in us. You as an individual are big data. The future of drug development is a pill that you take where as it's going through your body, it's going to send information back about you. Just because Raphael is a male and I'm a male doesn't mean that we should get the same treatment. He's XY chromosome, so am I. But if you map his body, he's going to need certain things that will not work for me, and certain things that work for me, not for him, and some things that are common. The future is about individuals, not collectives. How do we help you versus you? And big data is a way of separating better than masses. And this is something that people are very excited about.
Right. So I think only 0.5% of all the data gets essentially analyzed. So we are good in collecting data, but not good in
Mining.
reading data. And there's just a huge opportunity for smart, innovative entrepreneurs out there who really have the drive to change something in the world in that kind of field. And especially now in Vancouver and BC with the digital supercluster.
Can we let him ask some questions?
Yeah, I would just actually wanted to do that right now. Okay. Chu has a question for Ali.
Yeah.
Can you expand on the fact that you say no self-edited? Is there an exception?
Self-edit.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So the question was, can you expand on what do you mean by don't self-edit? Self-editing is that market is too small. I don't have the right education. I need an MBA. Or you know what? I should go work for a company for a few years before I start an idea. I'm too tall. I'm too short. I'm too this. That's self-editing. I have no business doing this. I should be only focused in that. As you said, oh, I think someone, already figured that out. I'm too late. Google should already have that. Well, before Google, there was Excite, Lycos, a whole bunch of different search engines. Self-editing is you defeating you.
You mentioned big data. Are you hinting at the fact that Zymeworks is moving towards machine learning solutions for your
Absolutely, there's a portion of our company. So if you look at the talent base that we have software developers, we have computational chemists, we have algorithm developers, we have structural biologists, we have clinicians, we have preclinical staff. We have every element that goes under R. And we are definitely looking at machine learning. We're definitely looking at different aspects of AI. I'm certainly not going to reinvent the wheel. But we're going to look for areas where we can be part of the future, and that's personalized medicine. Absolutely. Absolutely we're doing that. Yeah.
Did you ever doubt yourself or the idea that you had in the process of building your stuff?
If you don't, you are an egomaniac.
So how did you do it?
You rationalize, you sleep on it. I've got 2 kids now. I've got a 2.5-year-old and a 7-month-old. And you have great days and you have not great days. But the beauty of it is it takes us sleep to reset. So if you kind of get ahead of yourself, If you think you're all that and you've got it all solved, something will slap you over the head and you'll wake up. One of the things I also talk about in some of these things is that the moment you think you're absolutely right, it's the moment you're absolutely wrong. The moment you think whatever you're doing it is bang on, you're wrong. I remember, probably like a lot of you, I walked out of an exam thinking I aced it, and that's the exam that I got a C or a D. The exam that I thought I got a C and D is the one that I got an A. So it is important to always stress test theories. When you think you're right, try to defeat it. When you think you're wrong, try to find a way through it. One of the things I read in one of the books is that you go to a doctor, you're like, doctor, is there something wrong with me? No, you're okay. That doesn't mean anything. That means they couldn't find anything based on the tests they applied. Doesn't mean you're healthy. That means that they just took a stethoscope, listened to your heart, listened to your back. They're like, I can't hear anything. Sounds good to me. You're healthy. Get out. No. And back to my point, when you are thinking about something, think about if you're applying the right stress test. You might be coming at it always from one direction. Time to look at it and challenge it from a different direction. And if you can't still defeat it, keep going. But for me, in the way I try to operate is, if you come to my office, I'm surrounded by whiteboards. I try not to put things into notebooks. I certainly try not to put things into computers, because it's a way of us forgetting. I put things in front of me so I can constantly see it and I can constantly challenge it. If I write it in a notebook, I'm telling my brain, I'm training my brain that I put it somewhere and forget it.
Do you ask for a lot of feedback from other people?
All the time. All the time. I try to go to a lot of places. Everywhere that I go, I present my ideas, and half the people agree and half the people disagree. It really doesn't matter. It's all data. All of it is data. You just sit back and you go back, like, you wake up 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, you're in the shower, or whatever, you're like, I wonder. That moment of genius. Best ideas come in the shower. Incredible. Take long showers.
Cold or hot?
Doesn't matter, whatever. Take your pick.
I guess cold is more challenging.
Yeah, just do whatever. I love hot showers, but just best ideas. Yeah.
Abe? Oh, sorry.
Oh, great.
Cool.
Since you talk about exit strategy, this is an entrepreneurship forum. The question about dealing with venture capital. What's your take? Should entrepreneurs deal with VCs or should they bootstrap?
Owning, and I'm going to say something cliched, a small percentage of something big is a lot more valuable than owning a large percentage of nothing. 100% of zero is still zero. And I actually had the pleasure of giving one of these talks to a close from a bunch of VCs, and you should have heard what I said to them. It wasn't pretty. It's a partnership. Whether you call it a VC, whether you call it an angel investor, whether you call it friends and family, it's a partnership. The mistake that you guys could make is, you're smart, they're dumb, they have the money, you have the idea, that's where it ends. Not so much. When whomever you take money from, they're your partners. So as much as they do diligence on you, do diligence on them. They have to like you, you have to like them. And if you don't, you're setting yourself up for a huge headache. A good investor, whatever umbrella they come under, could do amazing things for you. So what differentiates an angel from a venture capital, in the simplest form, is venture capital has a time limit to when they have to give the money that they're giving to you back to who they got it from. Because all they do is they go, hey, Raphael, give me some money. I'm going to give it to this person, and I'm going to take like 5% of it. And in 10 years, I'm going to give this money back to you multiple times larger. So when you talk to a VC, find out where in their cycle they are. If they're in year 7 of a fund, you've got 3 years before you have to give them their money back. And that means for the next 3 years, they're going to put a lot of pressure on you. But if it's year 2 of a 10-year fund, they're going to be more patient. So Hollywood, books, movies tend to demonize them. But there is no demon there. It's no different than some of you have credit cards that charge you 21%, some of you have credit cards that charge you 6%, some of you have credit cards that charge you 30%. It's a business. And you have to know that there is no such a thing, even if you take money from angels, as a free lunch. Nobody is rich enough to go, here's my money, just take it, please. They all want something back. So you have to be ready to do reverse diligence. Ask them, can I talk to 4 or 5 companies that you've invested in? I want to talk to those founders. I want to know about you. And if they say no, that's a bad sign. Because if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to hide.
Angry.
Just, I don't know, relevant this question is going to be to most of the people in the room, but I work in a lab just a couple floors down from RAF, and as someone who moved from, a very technical, educational background into something more business related, are there any specific challenges you encountered? Anything that I should maybe do as somebody who's now in the sciences but would like to move over?
You got to be ready to learn really fast, faster than you are in grad school. This is my first job, and I didn't come from a business background. Everything was new. Thank God for Google, thank God for Wikipedia, Investopedia, anythingpedia. Just don't make excuses. Right? You just have to learn it. Lead, follow, or get out of the way.
Especially today, there are so many resources you can use on campus, outside of campus. It's like, yeah.
Did you have to pivot? Like, did you have to change the original idea that you started with?
Yeah.
How could you get your investors on board with that change?
Well, as you see, the name of the company is Zymeworks. It wasn't antibody. Zymeworks comes from enzymes. And our first idea was to, in fact, be an industrial biotechnology. We wanted to build enzymes that the pulp and paper industry, the food industry could use instead of chemical bleaching or chemical processes. And we figured that we didn't want to get into building plants. But the core idea was about protein engineering. So you go back to the investors and say, I got the vertical wrong. But the core is still right. I still have a differentiating capability in protein modeling and protein engineering. And I could take it to med devices, diagnostics, therapeutics, enzymes. And this goes back to not building a house of cards. If you're building, innovating, you have to know where you're going. What is unique about you and what's competitive about you? Those are two different things. Something that is unique is entirely you. Something that is competitive is, well, someone else is doing it too. I just do it better. Do your homework on your investors. You have a question, actually? Yeah.
Yeah, so when you were growing your company, when you first started getting traction, when did you know when you had to put in more money for sales marketing, and then when did you decide to seek that outside investment?
I didn't have any money. That outside investment was day one. I didn't have, I was coming from, like these guys from microbiology and immunology with $16,000 a year, and you have to pay tuition. It wasn't
Didn't
any.
increase that much.
No.
In 15
My
years.
first real check, I'm like, I can buy spices. This is different. Salt and pepper, cayenne. You can afford this? Wow. Sales and marketing. That's any founder's job from day one. You're the biggest cheerleader.
develop your company for success, not necessarily for exit strategy. But how do you convince investors, because they are looking for ROI, fair enough, and how do you convince that, on that exit strategy?
Greed. Greed is on your side. Keep thinking bigger. Bigger and bigger and bigger. The beauty of investors is they're not willing to walk away from bigger and bigger opportunities. They'll follow your lead.
Aren't the investors in Canada afraid of bigger opportunities?
Not until they deal with me.
Okay.
I have never met an investor, at least the majority, where I've walked into the room with my CFO and we left without the investor's pockets being a tiny bit smaller. Greed. Yes.
One of the things like an entrepreneur, obviously you come, it's like an insane idea, but then along with that, you gotta put up a team to make that. So how do you go on and find those team members to come along with your insane idea and take that ride?
This is like this. When you stand and have a drink of wine or a bagel or whatever, you're meeting people. Talk to people. Hey, what do? You connect with someone, you get to know them. That's the beauty of networking. Just meet people. Go to more of these. Go to this global thingy. Meet people.
Thanks for the question.
Yes.
What, if anything, changed with you when you started to accept investors' money?
I just became less nice. You tend to build a thicker and thicker skin. You have to learn that people come to dump on you. People come to vent. They take pressures from other portfolio companies and they sometimes take it out on you. It's not personal. Just keep your head down and execute. You tend to sometimes, and this is something that you were talking about at the beginning, you tend to forget about yourself. You tend to forget about you as the individual and you transform into the entrepreneur. Round the clock. You still have to have something that is still you, your hobbies, outside of work, your passion, your significant other. You can't forget that. A lot of people who get into entrepreneurship tend to have broken marriages or broken relationships because they work 12 hours a day and they expect that whomever they're with to go along with that, to accept that. But that person's going to sign up for that. And just because they love you doesn't mean that they need to get punished too.
But what I'm curious about is, did that change your conviction? Did that change your confidence of making your own dream happen? And did it fire you up, saying that this is real now, this is like crossing the line and saying, I'm going to do it. I'm going to fulfill my mission. I'm going to execute.
It did.
Awesome way.
I got to be honest. The first couple of years of doing Zymeworks, I was sitting back and I'm like, this should get me my real job. And at some point, I'm like, no, this is my real job. And that's when that light went up. The first few years, it was really cool to be in a magazine or see your picture somewhere. Now I don't give a damn. There was all these moments where you try to be in the spotlight. And then you eventually realize that being outside of the spotlight is a lot better. And when you do your first big investment, or you do your first big press release, or you do your first big whatever, you can either let it become ego, or you go tick, moving on, I'm done with that crap. I'm going to really focus on what's important. So yeah, the first few years, you get lost in it almost. But then you realize, at the end of the day, you're still you, not your title. And it takes time to grow into that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear about your opinion on the human test function, and at what point in a growing company did you get involved?
Well,
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Human resources. The simple answer to your question is when you get to about north of 30 people. And today they're not called human resources anymore. It's called people and organization. Human resources is a sub-function of people and organization. It's just recruiting. People and organization, to what you were talking about at the beginning, is you want to make sure that you have a healthy team, mentally healthy. That you see their stress, that you stay ahead of their stress, that you motivate them, that you ensure that they see their career path, that you don't take them for granted. Nobody likes to be taken for granted. And just because someone gives you a job doesn't make you a cog. So for me, the mistake that I made is I waited too long to realize that. But today is probably one of the best things that I've done is that I have a people and organization executive on my team. Someone who's dedicated to ensuring that the team at Zymeworks has mental health and has training, not just for our work, but for their careers. Look, my dream is I want Zymeworks to be successful, but I also want Zymeworks to have a lot of people to go through it and eventually have someone around the world saying, I used to work at Zymeworks, the same way Google is today. And when they see that logo, they're like, I don't care anything else on their CV, they work there, that's a special person, done. And a people and organization department ensures that you get the training to be beneficial to the company and to you. It's a marriage. It goes both ways. A team of 10 people that have mental health will be a lot more productive than a team of 100 that is distracted and stressed and damaged. Today, all we read about in whatever industry is that toxic workplace, harassment, this, and it's just coming up. That's bad. That's really bad. I'm really proud that perhaps more than 50% of our workforce are female, out of 160 people. And this is not like we go male, female, okay, advantage female. We're actually gender blind. But the fact that using that gender blindness, we've ended up with sort of a half-half. And you kind of look back, you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And we certainly don't decide a salary based on XX or XY chromosome. We don't measure that and go, oh, at XX, you're gonna make less. Sorry, too bad. People and organization ensure that CEOs don't get ahead of themselves. Don't become emperors or empresses. It's not a one-person show. And if it ever becomes that, it's toxic. We all heard about Lululemon. What an amazing job to be the CEO of that company. You sleep around and you get $5 million on your way out. Seriously? What do you think he's going to do next in his next job? He's probably moving to Arc'teryx. That's bad. That's really bad. People and organization ensure and secure people against them.
Yeah. See, big data. When you say big data, like in India in healthcare, right? If you take parallels from the NHS, the National Health Service, they've got a lot more forthcoming. They're happening projects with Google DeepMind. There is Babylon Health, which is able to advise, conversational interface of the company. The thing is, how does a healthcare company in Canada get access to the data and how progressive is the healthcare system to allow experiments?
This is called impossible. Whomever solves it is going to be a number one. You're right, that's a challenge. People are trying to figure that out, and if I had to figure that out, I would give you the answer today. I haven't. I'm trying. Yeah, you nailed it. So solve it. At first, it sounds impossible. I'm sure someone's going to solve it.
Anyone else interested in that idea? Want to help you? Maybe can have a chat later. You want to say what your idea is again?
It wasn't an idea. It was
Oh,
It's a challenge.
The challenge.
The challenge that he's raising is how could a healthcare company find a way to get access to the big data that exists in British Columbia towards personalized medicine or anything? Because the challenge with big data that we have is confidentiality. You do not want to somehow reveal that this individual has been getting that kind of a medicine versus this individual versus that. That's personal information. So companies need to come together to figure out how to keep that data secure and move it forward. Who gets to see the data? What do they get to do with it? Do they sell it, not sell it? There's a lot of information. Of course, governments get really nervous around, oh God, somebody's going to see all this information, so we're just not going to do anything, we're just talking away.
And that's what predictive was the professor's for.
Exactly. Crypto technology, maybe. Yeah.
Again, if I had solved it, I would be telling you otherwise.
There's one more layer to that. Maybe they can go get consent from people who are alive, but they have a lot of data from deceased, so that's the extra complexity of that.
That's right.
Okay, we're gonna wrap this up shortly. Would you one more question?
One more question, because you are managing a pretty large team right now. What's your key criteria for being a team member?
Trust.
In the first day?
How do you figure that out?
I'm the kind of person that I like to think I'd spend 5, 10, 15 minutes with someone and I know if I like them or if I don't like them. I'm sure everybody has had a moment where you say, I just don't like this person. I don't even know this person, I don't like this person. And then someone says, don't be like that. Your senses are telling you something. I trust my senses. These guys are the problem. When you actually close, listen, analyze, you tend to have better information collection than these.
I have 2 more quick questions for you. First one is, what was your biggest fuck up?
I should have let go of some toxic individuals faster than I did. There is a saying, fire them faster than you hire them. And there was a couple people that, I don't know, you try to stay popular or try to be liked by everyone and you keep someone that's toxic, someone that you don't trust, someone that your entire instinct tells you that is wrong, and you just keep them too long. Sometimes showing the door to someone is the best thing you can do.
Yeah. Surround yourself with positive people that bring you forward and not that with negative people that hold you back. Right?
It's not about positive or negative, it's about people who come for the wrong reasons to your organization, people who are self-motivated as opposed to team-motivated. In these days, you can't solve the challenges that the world faces just solo. All it takes is one person in the team to be about just themselves, and the whole thing crumbles.
Last question. What excites you right now, and where do you want to go with Zymeworks?
I come back to this. Personalized medicine excites me. I'm really excited about what I hear is happening in terms of differentiating people and understanding how we can deal with individuals as opposed to gender or race. Believe it or not, a lot of drug development is based on race, geography, a lot of very superficial things. And for me, in the line of work that I am, I'm excited, I'm terribly excited about figuring out some of these things. I'm also very excited about the fact that people are waking up to the notion that sugar is a bad thing. Here's the thing to make you think. if everybody gave up white sugar, brown sugar, the thing that powder, I'll probably be out of a job. Simple. Smoking, sugar, will it deal with cancer? I don't know, but it would certainly help it if we didn't have it. That's for fact. The next time you reach to grab a can of Coke, remember this. You're getting yourself one step closer to cancer. It's a fact. The next time you drink Coke Zero, you're getting one step closer to cancer. Now, you might be 2 miles away or 3,000 miles away, but you just took one step closer. Just think that. The next time you grab a cigarette and take a puff, the next time you put anything that is smoky in your lungs, anything, you're getting one step closer to cancer. You keep me employed, you keep him employed, but you get one step closer to cancer. And what I'm excited about is I think people are waking up and realizing we may not need this stuff. Sugar.
Yeah.
You don't.
Okay, I was hoping we were gonna end on a positive note, and not an entire one.
You fulfill
Okay.
the promise. That's what people behave.
Yeah. All right. Always. Please help me in thanking Ali